ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Bases Loaded. We're back here, all three of us. This is just after the All-Star break, right before the second half is to start. We'll be going over, today discuss the Home Run Derby, the All-Star game, and kind of give our thoughts on the second half of the season. All three of our teams are doing well. Two of them are better than one of them. But we will get into that later. First up, the Home Run Derby. Just what I want to say, I don't like this quick, just you got 3 minutes, go, 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 because you don't see where the balls go. Like, literally, like, I get why they do it because it's over in about 2 hours, but I like the way that it was. Maybe change it a little bit. Maybe not do number of outs, like 10, because that you could have guys going for 30, 35 minutes doing that. I'm thinking swings. Like, you get a certain number of swings. And also get rid of the actual guys throwing and get a machine. Because what happened with Adolis Garcia, that was absolutely ridiculous. That guy that was throwing to Garcia kept bouncing freaking changeups in the dirt. Like, it was
you pick your pitcher, man. You got to pick a better pitcher.
Yeah, he really, really does, and I'm pissed because I picked him to win. That's why I am even more pissed about this. But
I wasn't even on here last week, and my pick won, so I won the day.
You did tell us. But one thing I'll say about the Derby is, like, you've got to find a middle ground, like you said, Brandon. Like, because I know, like, we were at the Home Run Derby in 2011 in Arizona. I've been before in 2010 in Anaheim, and it's just like that old version, as fun as it was, it took forever, man. And the fans were just like done by the end. But then with this, I think the really interesting thing is being the higher seed definitely has its advantages because you know what the other person's done, and it's like you see what Rodriguez did in the first round when he just put on that absolute display, and then the guy he faced only had to hit like 20, 21 home runs because of the opponent that he had. So it was like, you've got to find some balance for it. Cause especially if one dude's nuking like 40 and then someone gets to stop at 21 and doesn't have to keep going, they get to conserve their energy. And it really it impacts the entire Derby.
Get rid of the bracket. Just have it be 8 guys. They all 8 go, top 4 and top 2. And then I think that's the way it should go.
Yeah, I think you can tweak it a little bit more. I don't like the whole hurry up thing. And honestly, if you really want to get to it, a lot of people tell their players that they don't want to participating in it because it actually wears them out. I mean, we saw J-Rod last year completely just downgrade after the Home Run Derby, trying to do so much. Yeah. Absolutely. But, it's the All-Star game. I don't think – I hate this whole talk about speeding up or something taking too long. Just put it on TV. I mean, we live in a day and age that everybody has a DVR half the time, and stuff like this. They're recording on it and fast forward through the first 30 minutes and just watch the balls. Like, I don't think this time version or the way that the old school used to, I didn't care, We always knew that when the Home Run Derby came on growing up, it was going to be a 4-hour event. You know what I mean?
3 to 4 hours, yeah.
Honestly, I think that the Home Run Derby has a bigger draw than the actual game itself. So I don't know why we have to make it to where it's a timed event. That way we can make sure viewership is watching and everything like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it is my favorite All-Star event out of any of the sports. But right now, with the format, with it being timed, you really don't get to admire them because you don't see where it lands because they got to go right back to the guy hitting.
Or a child gets drilled in the face by a line drive.
Yes.
That poor kid.
Why are you laughing, Chris?
Gosh, it was funny because it was funny. Because you know what? That's funny. That's one thing that always like worries me when you see those like little kids. Like if you're like 13, 14, you play Little League, like sure, you can be out there trying to snag them. Sometimes they put these little kids out there and I'm like, oh man, please don't hit one at them. Please don't hit one at them. Because some of those balls, I mean, the power these guys have and the way they're swinging, like they're nuking them
off the bat.
Yeah.
Like why do we need the kids out there shagging the balls?
Because it's a Make-A-Wish thing. So, and he wished a little too hard.
A little bit.
To the face.
But no, that I love watching the home run derby, and I'm very curious to see which one of these guys is going to struggle the next month to 6 weeks because it messes with their swing, their timing, because we kind of saw it with Luis Robert. He had to bow out of the All-Star game because because of his calf from the home run derby to beat Adley Rutschman, who went switch hitting in the home run derby, which I absolutely love.
It was a terrible decision in hindsight because it cost him, but that ruled.
Adley might be the best catcher in Major League Baseball already.
Yeah. I mean, you're not
because he's a better defensive catcher than Will Smith, and I think he's a better offensive catcher than JT Realmuto, and he's in his second season. How crazy is that?
Hey, that Orioles team has something special brewing, and he's definitely a centerpiece that's probably going to be there for hopefully 10 to 15 years, like being a part of that organization.
He didn't even win Rookie of the Year either.
Yeah.
Because Julio did his thing. Well, I feel like if the Orioles made the playoffs last year and the Mariners didn't, I think Adley wins Rookie of the Year. But because Mariners made the playoffs, they gave it to Julio.
Nobody cares about who wins the Rookie of the Year unless the person actually wins it with only playing 80 games. Okay, it's overrated. Okay, it's overrated award.
Okay. We also had the actual All-Star game. Diamondback Zach Gallen started the National League, strikes out the best player in Major League Baseball in Shohei Ohtani. Which does that mean Zach Gallen's the best pitcher in Major League Baseball?
No.
He threw a nasty curveball that Shohei couldn't hit. Like that's all that was.
Valdez has struck out Shohei 4 times this year. So next question.
I will say I did love the Mariners fans chanting to come to Seattle for Shohei at the
Dude, that was
pretty
cool.
Hilarious.
That
and one thing I'm gonna say,
booing Tucker and Alvarez, dude, that was so funny. And Alvarez just like waving.
That's how you handle it, man. But for me, the one thing that pisses me off way more than it should still is the fact that they are wearing these dumbass uniforms in these games with these generic letters on their helmets. And they swapped with the home run derby. Go back to wearing those during the home run derby and wearing the actual jerseys during the All-Star game.
I love their actual team jerseys.
So I thought the team jerseys were almost like Seattle Seahawks more than like the Mariners, if that makes sense. But then like I almost like I didn't really watch. I'm not gonna lie, guys. Okay, I was gone Monday, and then I came home late Tuesday night. But when I saw the letters on the helmets, like I was like, dude, this looks like clip art. Like I really feel like my 9-year-old son could have made a better logo. You know what I mean? But I'm with you guys. I think at the All-Star game, because you think about it, nobody's really buying the jerseys. Okay, I think there should be a hat that resembles the town that they're playing in or the organization that they're playing in, and then they should just wear their regular unis. They should wear their regular team unis, and then there should just be a hat, basically.
Agreed.
The National League won.
Right?
The National League won for one.
What would be cooler is when the teams all finally get their City Connects, that everybody just wears their City Connects.
I saw that. I saw people talking about that, where they wear their City Connects for the All-Star game.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you do, because yours is pretty freaking cool. I love the Diamondbacks Serpientes jersey.
We've all got good City Connect jerseys. I love the Diamondback ones. Honestly,
we all three
I love them.
Can we talk real quick, briefly, about how every single one has been mid this season?
Like, I'm trying to think of one that like blew me away. It seems like they're kind of like just solid color cookie cutters. Like I'd say I do like the Mariners ones, but the pants kind of kill it for me.
The pants kill it for me, but I think the one, if I had to pick any of them, I think Cincy's kind of look cool. I like the
they're
retro scene.
futuristic black jerseys, but it's
Yeah.
like Pittsburgh and Cincinnati kind of just went with the regular jerseys and just big letters, basically. Like
For
it's
sure.
not like anything was like blown away with those
Yeah, the
ones.
Orioles is awful. Like when I saw that, I was like, what is this even like? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Some of them are they're not very good. You're like, okay, wear it once so we know what it looks like, and then never again, please.
100%.
So, but no, All-Star game, National League won for the first time in 11 years. It's crazy. I think I saw something. The last time the National League won was when Mike Trout made his All-Star game debut, which is just crazy to think about.
Yeah.
But it doesn't
it's an
matter.
exhibition game.
Yeah, like it doesn't matter anymore, and it should always be this way. Don't do the whole home field advantage in the World Series was a stupid decision. So I'm glad they kind of got rid of it there. But moving on to our second half preview here, Chris came out with some good questions that we can go over. So we'll start with the first one. How many AL East teams make the playoffs? Chris, this was your question. You start us.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that really blew my mind is the fact that last place in the AL East is 5 games over 500. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a division after the All-Star break look as good as the AL East does. And I mean, obviously, we talked about the Rays a lot this year. We all really enjoy the Orioles, but I mean, it's going to be a really interesting second half, especially when you look at the wild card and it's Baltimore, it's Toronto, and it's Houston right there. And then the Yankees and Red Sox are only 2 games out of a spot there. And it's like, obviously the AL West is going to be a fight with the Rangers and the Astros. So it's like, it's going to be really interesting to see if these teams in the AL East can keep up this winning percentage, honestly.
Like, no, it's not.
The Rangers are 10 and 15 in their last 25 games. It's kind of
why would you say that?
Baseball's kind of hard when you play teams that are above 500. I like this question because, dude, it's when you think about it, like, just say for instance, like if the Astros overtake when they get Yordan, Urquidy, and Altuve back, they're only 2 games behind. Have a crucial series coming up with the Rangers multiple times. That honestly, like I said it kind of cocky, but I'm being serious. This Rangers team has fallen off, and Gray's getting exposed. The only guy that's really kind of still pumping the heat is Uvalde, obviously, but we exposed all of their pitching staff except Uvalde when we played them, and they could easily fall off just as much as anybody, and the division could go through and have just the American League can throw up 3 division winners, and then I could literally see all the wild card spots being taken up by the East. The only team that I really think that has a chance is whoever's got to battle it out between Houston, and if Texas stays around, I could kind of see them. But honestly, I see a lot of the people in the East just looking at Baltimore, Toronto, and the Yankees. Baltimore, if they can just keep doing what they're doing and maybe get an arm or 2 for relief pitching where they don't have to give up a lot, could be players. But I could see Toronto and the Yankees being buyers at the trade deadline. And if that happens, man, I could see all of those spots being filled up with the East. Because, I mean, let's face it. I mean, the Sox are going to be a fire sale. In fact, I could see Cease and Giolito being traded at the deadline there, and then just kind of blowing up the whole thing.
Either one, by the way, I will take either one at this point.
But at I honestly don't know. Between Minnesota and Cleveland, I honestly don't know who's going to win that division. I think they're going to fight over like basically who wants to host one playoff game, basically, in that division. But it's a good question because the scenarios look highly, highly in favor that you could see all the wild cards being filled by the AL East.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think one thing that's interesting is like the Yankees are still sticking around without Judge, and like you said, I think they're going to be buyers at the deadline. I think they're going to try and do something, but I mean, I think it's going to be three. I think someone else is going to come from the AL West. I mean, Seattle and the Angels are kind of in striking distance of that area too, and I mean, obviously the Angels have fallen off since Trout's injury, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with them. But Seattle's a team that can get hot. Obviously, the Astros are doing it while the Rangers limped into the break at 3-7. So it's like the West is going to be something to keep an eye on. But yeah, man, I could see three teams from the East making the playoffs.
Well, I think the one thing too, and I mean, I'm going to stay on the soapbox for the Astros. I'm not worried about it. You know, a lot of people are panicking. I'm ready for baseball to start because again tomorrow because I'm really tired. I like have to shut off local sports radio station because everybody's talking about who to trade since we don't have prospects and things like that. And they're talking trade scenarios with like Tucker and Bregman and things like that. And I'm like, guys, y'all are stupid. Look, guys, we are still hanging around. We still have a great record. And we literally have
You're 19
of our
and
rookies.
26.
Okay.
We have teams over 500.
Yeah, we have.
That's
listen,
crazy. You're two games back in the division lead.
Luis Garcia dead on arrival. Lance McCullers hasn't pitched once for us. Okay, not even in spring training. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I drafted him.
Okay. Urquidy is coming back. Jose Urquidy has not pitched since April 30th. Okay. Then you have Javier. Dude, Javier cannot find it right now. So if we could even just get half of what he was in the second half of next season, that's dynamic, you know. And a lot of people forget, you know, Hunter Brown, he's doing a great job in my eyes. He's had great starts. He's been up and down. But people forget that this kid got called up literally Labor Day weekend last year, okay? He's about as green as you can get. So we're talking about we have put 4 kids that should be playing double-A ball right now to carry this team right now.
Yeah.
Valdez, obviously, to me, Cole has done decent this year, but the AL front runner to me in pitching is Valdez with the amount of quality starts that he has over Cole. We just got to kind of figure it out. I think that it's going to be hard for us to get a guy in a starting pitcher because that's going to be high demand right now. But I think that with us not having the prospects, since, you know, we weren't punished on first round draft picks and things like that for the cheating scandal, this is the year that it's going to hurt us the most because you're going to see a guy that's an everyday starter like Julks, who's done a lot for us. I know it's not a popular opinion, but I really think that's why Yainer Diaz has gotten a lot of looks at the plate because a lot of people forget that we have Corey Lee down in Double-A. We have 2 really good catchers. So I think either one of those guys or a guy like Julks could be a trading piece because with not having prospects, you're going to have to dig into your everyday player. A lot of people don't like it, but, you know, Jake Myers and Chas McCormick's name comes up as well too. If you're going to make a splash at the deadline and get something that you need to make a run to not only into the playoffs but try to take the division, you're going to have to deal a MLB caliber player.
So I brought this up. Houston is what? As of right now, 19 and 26 against teams over 500, which is crazy because they're only 2 games back of the division lead. Texas is 24 and 22. But like we said, Texas in their last 10 is 3-7. I still think Texas makes it in, but I think because they've been definitely trending downward the last month or so, because like Blake said, they actually are playing competitive teams.
Right.
But
so listen to this too.
They had their entire infield basically make the All-Star team.
The first 3 series that we come back playing is with the Angels, the Rockies, and the A's.
Well, that should be 7-8 wins right there.
And then what the only bad thing about it is all on the road. We're all on the road. We don't have another home game after the All-Star break till the 24th. And then that series is against the Rangers. So literally you could see this happen real quick in the AL West with those division games coming up.
And I think the AL East is going to end up with 3. I think it's going to be. I think Tampa and Baltimore are going to be going back and forth the entire year, or the rest of the year now. Now that Tampa's lead is literally, I think it's at 2 games now.
2.
Yeah, 2. So it's one bad series by Tampa, one good series by Baltimore, and I think it's going to be going like that the rest of the year. And I think Toronto's going to make some sort of move.
Yeah.
I think Toronto's going to make a big move there. Yankees are going to have to get a big splash, like Shohei, big splash. I think for me to consider the Yankees to make it. Because until Judge comes back, that team has no identity.
Yeah.
Hot take. I'm going to tell you guys this. We're going to hear it until the deadline, but Ohtani's not getting dealt because the owner there is that delusional that he thinks that he's going to be able to re-sign him. Ohtani doesn't get dealt. There's no way. No way at the deadline.
Just
And
as
we
long
gotta
as
be-
he-
Will you eat a hat if he does?
Yes, I'll eat a hat.
Okay. Okay, there. So that was question number 1. Question number 2, referring to Chris's team, the San Diego Padres, will they make a big trade? Chris, I'm assuming this is they're buyers,
No, they're
big trade,
sellers.
not sellers.
For sellers.
I mean, honestly, it could be either way. Like you look at what we're facing out of the All-Star break. We're going straight to Philadelphia for 4 big games. We're going to Toronto. Then we're in Detroit, but that's a pretty long road trip. And so, I mean, we're really going to find out in the next week what it is because the Phillies are obviously a team they're chasing in the wild card race. So playing 4 against them now, if you lose 3 or 4, your hole's a lot deeper. And is it 2? It's already an uphill climb 6 games back in the last wild card spot. So are you really going to be able to leapfrog all of these teams when you can't beat them? So I think it can go either way. I think if they come out and they struggle against the Phillies and the Blue Jays, we could see somebody like Lugo, like Snell, like Hader, because obviously they're free agents at the end of the season. So it's if you can get something for them, you might as well give it a try. So, but you can look the other way, and if they come out blazing hot, I've heard rumblings about a Paul Goldschmidt situation, putting him at first base and, figuring something out trade-wise, probably either Kim or Cronenworth if he was willing to deal with the no trade thing. But I mean, either way, dude, honestly, I think you really can answer this question more so in a week than right now. But I think one or the other, I think they do something.
They're going to have to win like 60% of their games the rest of the year to even sniff, I think, that final wild card spot. That's really difficult. That is it. But the thing is, that offense, if they're all clicking, they can do it. Like, that's how deadly that offense is. And
I'm
like,
going to ask a question that's more devil's advocate more than anything.
Yeah.
Faced with, I wouldn't call it a failure, but faced with the lack of performance, okay? And the majority of it, let's face it, there is no rhyme or reason with it. It's either the pitching hasn't been on when hitting has been on, and now that pitching has found its way back, the offense kind of isn't sputtering, right?
Yeah.
So in what scenario could the front office feel pressure enough to deal a bigger bat like a guy like Soto to bring in another big time arm to try to win and get more games for you guys?
I don't think that's a conversation for this year. I think that's more so a conversation for next year because obviously you have another full season of control of Soto, and unless you got some unreal deal where you're getting, a major league ready bat, a major league ready arm, and maybe multiples of both.
What about both?
I don't see a deal that would be enticing enough for them to make that. I mean, but
What
never
about
say
both?
never.
I'm going to say it again. What about both? An arm and a bat.
Well, I know. I think it would take both of those in order
What
for a
about
trade
if
to
that
even happen
person
this
was
year.
one guy is what I'm trying to get at. Come on, guys.
Yeah. No, I know, but I don't think you make that straight up trade, honestly.
No, and
because-
look, I know, and that's what I was saying, and I know that we kind of talked about it in the chat about like the dysfunction in the locker room, whether they're rumors or not, But at the same time, I started thinking about that, like, hey, with the deals that are in place with the current people, and the egos that are in play and stuff like that, it does make you think if the front office is like, who would be the one guy that you could sacrifice, if you had to, and if you wanted to make that risky of a move of what the return would be back for him. But I think it would almost have to be somewhat of an even trade, You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah.
not like the Padres are going to take a haul for him. They would need a dynamic force, to have, a stronger lead rotation, basically.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
And
let's
it's like,
face it, I know Waka hasn't been this amazing lights out guys, but you have gotten a great version of Waka this season.
he's been
for them.
fantastic. Yeah. For what we paid for and what we expected, he's exceeded my expectations
sure.
personally. But it's
sure.
like you look at the standings right now and we talk about how far back they are. They're 5.5 back of the Brewers and the Phillies. I mean, the Phillies are a team that got hot last year and obviously made a deep run, but the Brewers we know are not that great of a team.
Right,
So I
right.
mean that's a team that I can easily see sliding in the second half and potentially could be sellers at the deadline, just depending on what goes. The Giants, they've been struggling as of late, but I think they're a good enough team to keep it up. But I think those are catchable teams. So it's like we talk about, yeah, they're 6 games back, but I don't think it's as big of a hill as most people think it is looking on the outside.
I think if they make the move, it's to rebuild their farm system that they completely threw away last year. That's the only reason that you trade Soto this year, is to you realize, all right, this was not the move. Let's just cut our losses and try and rebuild that farm system. But from all talks, it sounds like the owner is just willing to throw money at this problem.
Yes. Pete doesn't care, and he'll follow AJ off a cliff, which scares me more than anything. But that's a whole different conversation.
So yeah.
Real quick, we got sidetracked, but I did want to follow up one thing. I don't want to jump around or anything like that, but I got a little trigger happy. I had brought up who we're playing the first 3 games after the trade deadline, or not after trade deadline. I'm sorry. We've been talking trades after the All-Star break, but listen to this, okay? This is where I think the tide turns in our division, because the Rangers play Cleveland, Tampa, the Dodgers, Houston, and San Diego, literally to finish out the month of July. Now, if they come out with a winning record out of that literally gauntlet, then I will start to sweat a little bit. But I think they're lucky if they win.
I was like 500 sounds good there.
Well, dude, if they win half of those games, that's still going to be okay. Y'all did a great job, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, Padres next 10. They got 4 against the Phillies, 3 against the Blue Jays, 3 against the Tigers. So that's
well, and let's not forget
games.
one of those Phillies games is a doubleheader.
It's a double. Yeah.
A scheduled doubleheader, and they've already said they're throwing Ryan Weathers in one of those games. So God help the bullpen.
I would say feasible there, maybe 7 wins, especially if you can sweep the Tigers.
I think you need 7 wins. I think they're at the situation where, I mean, they were already there, but you cannot give games away at this point. Like you need to sweep the Tigers. You need to win both these series. So
yeah, and I think I'm in the same boat as you.
Lose a series.
Yeah, and I'm in the same boat as you, Chris. I've seen so much frustrating baseball, and I made the mistake of going back in the calendar and counting how many games the Astros have lost either by 1 or 2 runs. And once you get to like 30, you're like, okay, I'm this is just gonna piss me off even more, Well,
Chris,
the
do you want to tell? Yeah, do you want to tell Blake how many losses they have by 1 run or extra innings?
Yeah, the Padres are 5-15 in 1-run games this year, and they're 0-for-8 in extra innings.
Yeah, same with us. We have not won an extra game inning. In fact, the Astros are 0-6 in extra innings this season.
Oh no, you're 1-6. You won.
We actually won 1. I'm sorry, right before. Yes. Right before. But are you ready for this? A majority of those were at home. We had the last at bat, guys. Like that's the dumbest thing ever,
I saw
you have
that
all
Friday
the
night
odds in your favor,
I saw that Friday night home game against the Mets where the Padres blew the lead late and just collapsed in extra innings and lost.
That's what happens when you play a hot team like the Mets,
Obviously.
So the Diamondbacks won their first extra inning games on Saturday on Corbin Carroll walk-off hit. Corbin Carroll had the most intense week of his life. He has this. He gets hurt when we're all thinking, "Oh, he's done."
I can't
I
believe
thought he
he
was
played.
dead.
I
thought he
can't
was
believe he
dead.
played the next day. I
I
was
literally
shocked.
thought he was dead, man. I'm not gonna lie. I thought he was dead.
I'm like, they must have given him something. And then he goes to Seattle, has the time of his life in the stadium that he grew up watching baseball.
Yeah.
must suck to live up there, man.
Blake. Okay, moving on to question number 3. Will the Rangers make the playoffs? I mean, we kind of
talked about that.
Yeah, we kind of discussed that.
No.
It hinges on their next,
No.
basically their next 2 weeks. How do they go through this gauntlet that they have until the end of the month? And if they're at 500, like it's 500 or better.
I'm gonna say one thing. They make the playoffs if their starting pitching core stays healthy. But Gray and Uvalde both fall apart in the second half of the season. And you can go look at the stats to back it up. And not only that, but I know all pitchers can get funky injuries, but statistically, Uvalde has always had some sort of an issue in the second half of the season.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I personally think that the Rangers have literally been just firing on all cylinders. And I think I just don't know how long a team can do that, okay? Not taking anything away. They've had a phenomenal first half, and they looked amazing. All of their starters went 0 for 9 batting in the All-Star game. But regardless, I just don't I don't see that half team being able to play against the actual competition in their schedule coming up after the All-Star break.
See, I say yes, and I know you bring up their pitching concerns and just the struggles that we'll probably see them have in the second half, but still right now, they're number 1 in MLB in runs, they're number 1 in batting average, they're number 1 in on-base percentage, and they're 2 in slugging percentage. Like, they're hitting. And I know it's a smaller ballpark and it plays well for them, but if they keep hitting, even if their pitching struggles, they're still going to find ways to win games. And somebody like Bruce Bochy, like that's a dude that we've seen what he did with the Giants in the 2010s. You saw what he did with the Padres in the early 2000s. Like, they've got a great manager, and I think they're going to do enough to get into the playoffs.
Starting pitcher is probably someone that they should go after.
They should have gone after a really big ace in the offseason, I feel like, you know?
Yeah, why didn't they do that?
They had the money to spend.
I mean, talk about that. Like, that dude is, like, gone. And it's like, if he was part of this team and he was what they thought he could be, like, imagine the ceiling for this team, honestly.
Yeah. I think they're going to score runs. But the only problem is, will their pitching stop the other teams from scoring? We have seen them struggle here the last couple of weeks, starting to come back down to earth. I just think that they are one of the 6 best teams in the American League. I think they will end up. I don't know if they win the West, but I think they'll make one of those wild card spots, unless they make a huge splash trade. Like, we're talking getting Dylan Cease, I think would be a big one for them. And like Blake said, I don't think the odds of Ohtani being moved to me is very low. Like, I have it at like 10-15%.
I think it's going to happen.
You do?
I think it's
I can respect that.
I just think, especially if this team goes in this free fall that we kind of expect in the next week or two, I think that will be enough of a wake up call for Artie to be like, well, this season's trashed. Like, we're not going to keep him. Like, we have to. You have to get something for him. You can't just let this man walk at the end of the season.
So, man, dude, never mind. I'm not going down that road. We'll talk about it for an hour. Next.
All right, next one. Out of these teams, who has the best chance to make the playoffs? The Reds, the Marlins, the Diamondbacks. I will say this: the Marlins schedule after the break, not that difficult. It's really not that difficult. Diamondbacks, though, that's different. They have 3 in Toronto, 3 at Atlanta, and 3 at Cincinnati.
Are you ready for
So-
this?
Ready.
All 3 of those teams make the playoffs.
Yeah,
I
I'm
like
looking
it.
at the standings right now.
Reds are going to win the
Philly looks like crap. The Mets are the Mets. The Nationals are a minor league team. Milwaukee always finds a way to fail, and everybody else in that division isn't good. I can honestly see Pittsburgh becoming a hotter team than Chicago and Milwaukee after the break. And I think that Arizona, even though I tease Brandon all the time about it, they get a huge arm at the trade deadline, and it gets them to the playoffs.
Yeah. They have to make some sort of move, like a big move. Whether that's getting a third baseman, because that's our major hole right now is third base.
Just
we
put
had-
Marte over there. That'll be good.
Actually, I'm in a Discord with some Diamondbacks fans, and someone's like, "What if we trade Ketel Marte right now?" I'm like, "That is a terrible idea."
It depends what you get.
He literally is our second best player. He should have been on the All-Star team over Ozzy Albies. He's been incredibly hot in the month of June, and he's continued it into the month of July. Hot take. I want them to go after Nolan Arenado. Because the Cardinals said that they're selling, but a lot of Cardinals fans are saying they want to keep their core intact. I'm like, Goldie's like 36. Arenado's 32. If you're trying to build for the future, those aren't the guys.
Yeah.
Now, it just depends on what it's going to take.
What about hey, I know that you forget about him, but honestly, and I'm not just saying the player, but I'm saying the caliber type of player. I could see the Diamondbacks going after a guy like Gio Urshela that's on the Angels or something like that. Like
He's
somebody
injured
that
right now, though.
I know, but I'm just saying the caliber, okay?
Better than what we
Yeah.
got.
Somebody that's like a mid-level top 25 guy, you know, that still has a strong bat, but you can get for cheap at the deadline. Because let's face it, like I love the aspirations, but you're gonna have
Yeah,
to
I
sell
know.
the farm to get a guy like
Yeah.
Arenado. Okay,
You mean
I
like
could see
the
them.
freaking
I could
Rockies
see-
did?
Yeah,
got-
I could see.
Seriously, St. Louis fleeced the Diamondbacks and the Rockies for getting Goldie and Arenado.
Yeah, they did.
Both of them.
I think almost the one team that got fleeced the most was Oakland with the Braves. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we're talking about the Braves. You know that man. I'm looking big brain on them being my World Series pick in the National League because they
Yeah.
are scary. And the worst part about it too is their starting pitching has been hurt across the board. Like
Yeah, that's
Spencer
what's scary.
Strider has literally been their workhorse, you know. And we all know that I have the hugest man crush on that guy. Like, dude, he is just
Yeah.
he's a freaking stud. You know what I mean? Like anytime locally here,
His
like
thighs,
I can-
y'all. His
like I can pick up Braves games
said
and
it,
stuff
yeah.
like that. When the Astros aren't playing and Strider's pitching, like I'm watching the first couple of
Yeah.
innings before the Astros start because the movement on his pitches and the velocity, dude, that's generation talent, man. And the crazy
Yeah.
thing about it too is I make my son watch it because that guy, he's not that tall for he is tall, but he's not that tall for a major league pitcher. And
Yeah.
I love watching these guys that can pump the velo that are not your 6'3" and up guys. You know what I mean? And that's what I love about this guy is because once he takes the mound, you don't think you're going to get the heat that you get. And then all of a sudden he's pumping 98, 99 and stuff like that. Like him, they were talking about it the other day on a podcast that
6
I was
feet.
listening to. Him and Valdez, since they started, have added 5 to 6 MPH onto their fastballs since
Wow.
being called up. That's impressive. Okay.
That's
And
huge,
both of them
massive.
are both under 6'3" too. So they're shorter end of the spectrum pitchers.
We respect
Yeah.
short kings.
Short kings all day.
Yes, the Braves, the amount of home runs they hit
Yeah,
is
it's
just
crazy.
outrageous.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that Freddie Freeman looks over and goes, "Man, they're having fun over there"?
Yeah.
Like even
I
even
mean,
with them
he,
sitting in
he
first place
seems like
already
he's
right
having
now.
fun on the Dodgers.
Yeah, but
They
I
got-
think if you
the
gave
Braves
him a
got
chance, he'd go
literally
back in a
the
heartbeat.
same guy for so much cheaper.
Cheaper.
Way like
I think that's what hurts him more than anything is that the dude that came in and took his position has made that fan base. I wouldn't say forget about him, but just like we didn't need him.
Not forget about him, but they literally plugged and play what they would have got that output of Freddie Freeman.
Yeah.
And like Brandon said, probably for literally like a quarter of the cost. You know what
Well,
I
and I
mean?
mean, yeah, you look at the franchise now and you look at all these young guys they've locked up. There's no way
Mhm.
they would have done that if Freeman was still
Never.
there if they had to pay him.
Strider
Yeah.
would have been gone, you know. And then look what they would have been left with. They would have been literally left with guys that are on the IL. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
But,
believe Matt Olson is like second or third in home runs over the last 2 or 3 seasons,
Mm-hmm.
behind Judge, which is just ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
when you think Matt Olson, you don't think home runs.
No,
Like
it's crazy though.
it's just so
But-
crazy to think. The A's at one point had Matt Olson, Marcus Simeon, and Chapman there in their infield.
Yeah.
What-
I mean, it's crazy when you look at what Oakland dismantled. You could probably make an all former A's team and it would probably go out there and win like, 80, 90 games, honestly. But going back to the question, because I didn't get a chance to answer it. But when I look at those 3 teams, I think Cincinnati is going to win the Central. I think what they've done, bringing up this youth movement, having Ellie come in and just absolutely be a lightning rod for
he
that.
steals home because the pitcher's not paying attention.
That was one of those things where you're just like, you got to watch this kid. Like you can't not watch this kid. And then Joey Votto obviously coming back and plugging himself in as that veteran leadership on that team. I think they've got great young pitching. I think they've got a great bullpen. So the Reds are going to win the Central. The Marlins are such an interesting team to me because you look at them, they're 21-6 in 1-run games this season. They're 4-1 in extra innings, and they have a run differential of -5. Like, how
That's
does
crazy.
that happen? It's like you
Yeah.
look at this Marlins team, and I know we
And
talked
Sandy
about
Alcantara
Not doing
hasn't
anything.
been shit.
Mhm.
Yes.
If he goes back to last year, easily I think they're I think
if
Blake
he's an
said it.
above average pitcher, I think
Yeah.
it makes an absolute
I
difference.
think his
like,
ERA is at like 5 right now. If he gets it to 4,
Yeah, they're 53 and 39 on the year. If Sandy is back to mid-season form, we could be talking about that being the most interesting race in MLB with how big the Braves are playing right now compared to what they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's like credit to Skip Schumacher, probably isn't going to get it, but has to be in the conversation for NL Manager of the Year because he's done a great job with that team. Obviously, they made some decent trades, getting a rise, shipping out Pablo Lopez to the Twins. Like that ended up being a big piece for them. But yeah, the Marlins, I think will hold on and get one of those last playoff spots. Brandon, you're not going to like this, but just something about the Diamondbacks like schedule down the stretch and the bullpen struggles that we've obviously talked about a lot that are going to have a huge impact on this team in the second half. So I think out of the 3, I think I see the most danger in them missing the playoffs. I'm not saying they will, but out of the 3, I think they have the most danger of missing out on the playoffs.
they have a rough month of August.
Exactly.
That's
it's
why
not
I'm
that
like
bad.
they
It's not that bad. You got San Francisco, Minnesota,
the
Dodgers,
Dodgers, the
Padres,
Rangers, and
Colorado,
Reds and
Padres.
Dodgers again.
You play some team from Southern Oklahoma, and then you got to face the NL Rookie of the Year Cincinnati team coming to town,
You better watch your mouth.
and then the Dodgers again. Yeah, that is a rough month. That is a very rough
Like,
month.
I'm not saying that Ellie isn't deserving, but he's played 45 games, and everyone's saying, "Oh, it's his over Corbin." I'm like,
It's not his over him yet, but if he continues at
I
this
said
pace
this
he's at,
if he continues this to September 1st, it's a
Yeah.
discussion between the two.
Yeah.
It's just an overrated award. Brandon, just calm down. It's okay. If you could only pick one, where do you pick him? Playoffs or Rookie of the Year?
Playoffs.
Thank
Okay.
you.
I
Playoffs.
kind of wanted him to say Rookie of the Year just for the comedic factor. He's like
Yeah.
MVP.
No. Only way Acuna doesn't win MVP is if he gets injured and is out for about a
Dies.
month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's on pace for 40 and 80 and probably 100 RBI. That's insane.
I'm just happy that he's happy and he can actually, wear his eye black and his jewelry and stuff like that. Now that he's not being bullied by Freeman there,
So, moving on to our final question. Where does Luis Ariz end his batting average? As of this moment,
Hard
Luis
question.
Ariz is at 383.
383. Yeah, I mean it's interesting because he goes on these stretches. Like I know we had like a 14-game stretch in June where he was hitting like 483, and it's like the way he's doing it. He's obviously not a power hitter. He's got what 3 home runs in the entire year.
Yes.
He just finds holes and he
His
dinks and
slugging
dunks his way there.
is like 80 points higher than his batting average.
Yeah. which is just crazy. But the last 15 games, he's been at 293, which is pretty low for him. Like it's going to be really interesting to see how he's pitched too going down the stretch because he's obviously on a team that's going to be in a playoff race as well. So they're going to get the best of a lot of teams. But
They have a rough August as well too. I'm looking at their schedule right now.
Yeah, August it's rough, but like the rest of this month is not that like they could.
If he can get it over 400, like if he can go on this streak to end this month and get back to 400 or get close to it, I think he has a shot. But it's just such an insane number to reach. It's a reason we don't see guys reach it. I think he's going to end at like 387, somewhere like that.
Listen, he play in August. They play the Phillies, the Rangers, Cincinnati, the Yankees, Houston, Dodgers, Padres, and Tampa.
That is a ooh.
Yeah. Like, honestly, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I could see his average being like 325 after that stretch.
I mean, based on the Diamondback schedule and the Marlins schedule in the month of August, that's when the Padres need to make their move.
Yeah.
I think I'd have to look at the Padres schedule for August.
Oh, I can tell you it. It's at Colorado, then Dodgers, Mariners, D-backs, Orioles, D-backs.
It is
Marlins,
easier the
Brewers,
last 2
Cardinals.
weeks.
Yeah. But that stretch there of D-backs, Orioles, D-backs, Marlins, that's all no off days in between.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
If you're gonna make the playoffs, you're gonna have to play like a playoff team. So
I mean, they should just start playing it like now.
like April, that would have worked.
Yeah, right. I think Ariz is going to enter like the mid 380s, like 385, 386. I think he's going to stay about where he is, unless he goes on one of those 2-week hot streaks where he bats 480. Like he's going to have like probably 220 hits, 230.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like it would be awesome to see him hit 400.
I mean, it'd be awesome to see him at least like keep the pace up, even if he ends at like 395, 390, somewhere like that. If he's hovering around there, it's going to garner a lot of attention. And I think that's just good for the game to watch a guy like, and I know we were talking about it a little bit before, Brandon, and people think it's sacrilegious to make this comparison, but you see a lot of Tony Gwynn and what he's doing at his approach at the plate, the way he's looking at things and going, okay, if they're going to shift here, I'm going to put the ball here. If there's a runner
it's just
on,
like,
I'm
okay,
try to
where
spin it down
is there not a guy? And let me just get on base.
He's
Just
like, let me
singles.
just slap it through. Let me slap the holes. And that's what he's doing. So it's just, it's really fun to watch just as a pure baseball fan. Like, I don't need to see the ball go 500 feet. Like, I just enjoy watching guys with quality at bats.
Yeah. And it's good that his team is playing well too. Like it would suck if he's batting this and they're like 5-6 games under 500. You'd be like, it's not beneficial. It's not good. Like but team's like 13 games over 500. They're in second place in the East. I believe they have the number 1 wild card. Yes, they have the number 1 wild card. I mean, it's a half game over the Diamondbacks, even though they're literally percentage points behind the Dodgers. But
Yeah.
it's weird because the D-backs hold the tiebreaker. Dodgers had an off game on Sunday before the All-Star break. I don't understand that. And then they didn't play today. So I'm like, okay, so you gave them like an extra long break. Thanks.
Thanks, MLB.
So
Thanks.
yeah, thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Nothing. So and that's what's scary is they're tied and their pitching has been atrocious. That's what scares me. If they get a solid arm, like their bullpen is real. Like I think their bullpen is worse than the Diamondbacks. Like you'll see these games where like their bullpen gives up like 4 to 5 runs in like the 6th to the 8th, and you're like, wow, not good. But still, they're right there.
Yeah.
It's weird. They have, I think they're 2 games up on the Reds there for. It's so Miami has the second best record in the National League.
As we all predicted.
Yeah, we sure did.
Yeah,
I did.
and then the Marlins are doing all this with Jazz missing a lot of time too. Jazz Chisholm has missed a good chunk of time. Sandy
Well,
has
because they have the original Pina Power on their team now.
I
The
know.
real Pina Power.
Hey, it's his younger brother. It's fine. He can steal it.
Living in
If they weren't related, then I would say it's kind of stupid him. But
yeah.
So, but no, it was a great show today. Blake, any parting thoughts for the second half of the season?
Oh yeah, we're gonna remind people who we are. I think we're gonna remind people who we are, and I am going to make a very bold prediction and say that all 3 of our teams will be playing in October at the end of the year.
How good would that be for the show content?
Absolutely.
That would be great.
Absolutely. That's what we're praying for. All 3 of our teams make playoffs.
I mean, 2 of them, if they just keep the pace that they're on, they're fine.
Yeah.
It's this one's down here that needs to get their rear in gear.
Hey, there's no better time than the second half of the season to go on a run, and I think they're primed for it. I mean, it's we talk about the unfortunate losses that they've had this year. So many of those games could have flipped the other way, and I just don't think. I think this team is too talented to continue to struggle in these situations. I think things are going to click. I think they're going to go on a big run and just carry some momentum. And God, I hope we get October baseball, because I don't. This fan base, if we don't make the playoffs, it's going to be a mess until April, and I just can't deal with that offseason.
There will be other fan bases that will just be tearing the Padres apart on social media.
Oh yeah,
and I'm like, Mets, you can't do it because you're also just as bad.
They're worse.
Yeah, like everyone was like, "Oh, look at them! They won 4 in a row, or they won 6 in a row, and then they lost 2 to go into the break." Make sure to check out our socials in the description box below. We will see y'all next time.